No later than 150 BCE, Bhagavan Patanjali himself comes along. He's primarily known in academic circles as a grammarian, actually, and it's because of his work on grammar that we're able to set this date of 150. Whether he in fact contributed to the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali is a matter of some debate in academic circles, but I and a few others believe that he did contribute at least the portion between the early sutras of Book 2 and the early sutras of Book 3, which happens to include the presentation of Ashtanga Yoga, the 8 limbs of yoga, the central practice. In any case, within 200 years of Patanjali's life, yoga has turned into a kind of pan-Indic religious movement, which has made an impact already on the other religions of India. And the first evidence that I know of for this is a poem called the Buddha Charita, which appears in the 1st century of the Christian era. Within the Buddha Charita, we come across this figure named Arada sitting on the left. This, by the way, comes from a Japanese animated cartoon. He's still very much a part of the story of the Buddha's life that is taught to children in Japan. So in Japan, he's called Alara Kalama, I think. But the Buddha Charita refers to him as Arada. In any case, Arada is a Sankhya philosopher who is the Buddha's first guru. And within the Buddha Charita, we see a lengthy and very coherent exposition on Sankhya philosophy that very closely follows the Yoga Sutras. So Lord Buddha studied yoga. Now, at the end of this chapter of the Buddha Charita, Lord Buddha says, "Thank you very much, revered teacher. These are very wise teachings. But I take exception to some of them, and so I'm going to go off and start my own religion." And the specific point that he takes exception to is that the Yoga Sutra postulates that the Purusha, after attaining enlightenment, remains for eternity. It continues to exist. And Lord Buddha says that you wouldn't really be able to say that you had attained emancipation unless the soul was completely annihilated and ceased to exist. This is actually a fairly mainstream consensus, I guess you could say, within Madhyamika Buddhist philosophy. It also exists within other classical schools of Hindu philosophy, by the way, but it's not a part of yoga, it's not a part of Sankhya. And so they agree to disagree. Now, this is going to be important because Buddhism is going to keep developing yoga on its own, separate from the tradition that the Yoga Sutras represent.